landed in Tirana, which is the capital of Albania, earlier this morning. There's already an interesting collection of architectural styles, some in a very modern vein. In one of the main squares, Skanderbeg Square, here right in the heart, the city of Tirana. Mosque just over there. Robert is our local expert guide who's running this trip. It's just a one-week holiday. We're only one night here in Tirana tonight before moving on to the countryside. Well, if you look closely at this new construct building, it does in fact represent a face. So I'm looking at the eyes, the nose and the two ears, and represents Skanderbeg, who looked over this area when he ruled it all those centuries ago. The square itself has been paved in all the local rocks from all parts of Albania, so that Albanian people believe that little bit of their hometown is maybe here. And similarly, the trees planted around are all natural trees from, or indigenous trees perhaps I should say, from elsewhere in Albania, planted here right in the centre. Also overlooking the square, there's this quite impressive mural. Again, it represents some of the history that this country has come through, certainly reflecting its Ottoman past. Although in the past religion was very much underground, Islam, and this is the oldest mosque now in Albania. The artwork on the mosque is unusual in as much that it reflects and represents some of the cities. Normally it's more floral designs that are depicted. Throughout Albania there are nearly 700,000 bunkers which have never been used, but a very paranoid leader in the communist era decided to protect all of the population by building these monstrosities. So this HF group of mine is 22 strong, quite a big number for this one-week trip around Albania. On the street there's all manner of products available for sale, and these are walnuts being roasted. They're just beginning to pop and open. And there's also some sweet corn available already. But there are street stalls and markets selling all manner of goods all over, including artwork. And that contrasts to what could be any sort of shopping area in any part of the world. Very glitzy and glamorous here. The streets are all pretty busy and indeed fairly chaotic as well. I can't see for the minute, but lots of motorcyclists and e-scooters and stuff weaving its way around without a great deal of discipline. This new high-rise is unusual architectural design, and the shape of the windows or the rooms that are sticking out broadly are in line with the shape of the country Albania. All religions in Albania are respected and inclusive, and this is St. Paul's Cathedral. The church was constructed in 2002 after the fall of communism. Across the road to get over the river and the bridge here. Although the river's been somewhat tamed, the mountains in the background, which we will start to explore from tomorrow. And that path led us up to what is called the Pyramid Building, which one can ascend. We're not. This was originally a mausoleum to one of the autocratic rulers of the past. Never used as that, and the steps were added as a feature to make it attractive since. Well, it's a right eclectic mix of design and style and features. This modern art structure is designed by a Japanese guy, and it's simply called The Cloud. And we're sort of retracing our steps a little now back near the bunker as we're heading on to our restaurant for dinner. Well, after the capital, which we arrived in yesterday, we left this morning. I travelled about 1.5 hours on our coach to the start point of today's walk. There's a mixture of modern development and a lot of dilapidation and things that are in quite a poor state of repair. The roads are generally getting upgraded and improved. We soon got into the rural landscape. There's pomegranates, there's olives, apples, all growing around. Well, it's a linear route we're on today, and it's a nice steady climb up this track. An ever improving day, along with a heady scent of a bit of thyme wafting on the air. Wonderful. And we continued our steady plod and ascent on this good track. And only a short way further on, we got to the goal. We're still going to walk off. We've got this fantastic viewpoint overlooking the surrounding countryside. This is a far cry from the city of Tirana, where we were yesterday. And a little pan round to the two tail enders.
Rich, smile.
Oh, hello, Martin.
All right.
I had a good time on my 47th trip with you.
47 trips with me. Well,
Yeah,
and
Around
counting.
the world.
Oh, we started our descent, but carrying on what is an old road, a Roman road, which was an old protected access route before the road we're heading back down to in the valley was constructed. The group are listening attentively to Robert, our guide, learning a little bit about the history and the background of this area.
So they have kept it always the same original name.
Well, we're nearing the end of the walk, and we do have this very impressive bridge to cross before we rejoin the coach.
okay. It's impressive. It just sort of blends in a bit.
And our advance party, obviously we're 22 in the group, and we're inevitably going to get a little bit straggled out.
It's just coming.
So some are already up and over the bridge, which you can now see is without walls. And finally, at the back of the group, because I always bring up the rear on these trips, I've got down to this bridge, which, as you can see, is most impressive. And whilst descending to the bridge crossing, came across this huge mass of butterwort with this two-tone lilac and white flower head and the fairly standard 5 irregular lime green basil leaves. Insect eating. Well, we're back on the road again now, getting to our next bed stop for 2 nights, and here in the little very attractive village of Lynn. Along the sides of the street there's all these little produce, all home-made, home-grown, home-pickled, home-bottled jams, all sorts of items for sale. Garlic here, everything. Pomegranates there, apples now in season, fresh herbs, dried peppers. Just a very typical little village store, really. This village of Lynn is on the shores of Lake Ohrid. We'll be on the north side of Lake Ohrid in a few days for a couple of nights in North Macedonia. Just walking around this little village, considered to be one of the most pretty on the lakeside here. And we'd agree. Local cat looking down on us. Past the mosque a couple of minutes ago, and obviously religion around here is very warm and welcoming to everyone. Christian place of worship ahead. Well, we haven't seen much in the way of animals at all, and then we come across this donkey here.
Yeah, and he's very cute. No, the other view is better, I think.
And we reach the end of this little peninsula with the lake lapping up alongside us. Several of the buildings kind of don't look that waterproof.
It's a traditional kind of burek. It has only 2 layers, not like a normal burek with many layers. This one has only 2. And this is with leek. It's leek, yogurt, cheese, and eggs inside. This is traditional. The tepsi, this is from copper. It's very old, from Ottoman time. It gives a different taste from aluminium, so we bake it. And that is a such when we bake it, because such keeps it soft.
Our journey yesterday brought us through here to Voskopje and the Villa Pashuta, which is a really attractive agri-tourism location. First light the next day, all of the surrounding hotels are both attractive and well built and modern, and set in a fabulous setting in the countryside here. The group are split between 2 or 3 hotels here actually because of the size of the group. The Pashuta's taking about 8 rooms, and then the rest of the group are down the way. And very conveniently tapped off here is a supply of fresh spring water straight from the mountain streams, potable, and a good source for us to refill all our water bottles from. Well, we set out through the town of Voskopje, which is a reborn town. Its original heyday before the 18th century was famous for printing presses, and a lot of people lived and were employed here. And now, since 2015, with government support, it's become a major tourist destination. Much reconstruction of buildings in traditional style, now all for mostly tourists, and also the cobbled streets have been reinstated from the past. Historically, religion played a very important part in this area, and there are a number of old churches of various denominations still used, but several are no longer in existence. There's some fantastic design on some of these older churches. And there's evidence of an old fresco in the corner there. There are now some modern and really tastefully designed houses. A new build's going up to this day. From the town we continued along a muddy track alongside the river, which mysteriously is very slow running, but seems to have created its own floodplain anyway. This track continued to rise steadily on an increasingly warm, pleasant and really quite sunny day. Several more legs have come out now, and our goal is a hilltop ahead, upon which there is a church we will be visiting. At this time of year, it's now mid-October, the autumn colours are beginning to show, in some cases quite vividly. Well, it's taken us some time to crawl up to this really beautifully located church, and really quite an impressive size cemetery, overall in reasonable condition. So all the flowers I've seen are artificial flowers. Hey ho. This is the Church of St George in Shipka. It's constructed as a three-aisled basilica with a roof of arches.
17th century. The early very old. The different saints down in the first row, and then
So from the church, we're going to start a descent. Still with fantastic mountain views, particularly in the distance there, to enjoy. So we carried on with the walk after lunch, heading on through the forest, heading up to that monastery just ahead in a moment, and looking back down into the valley in Voskopoje where we're staying for 2 nights, and one of the walks we'll be doing tomorrow also opposite there. A little monastery is in a lovely little courtyard, nice little sun trap. Just do with a cafe here really, and quite a contrast when we step inside.
this area, 5th century. So all people before. It looks like.
And then finally we descended on this cobbled street back down to the town we're staying in, Voskopoje. I'm hoping when we get down we'll find a cafe, a little bite to eat, and a beer or a coffee or a tea. Well, it's the following day now, our 3rd day of walking, and we're heading up another local hill close to Voskopoje where we're staying. And very soon after we set out, we'll come across our first herd of sheep. We're pleased to see that, because lamb has been on the menu twice and we wondered where they were coming from. Well, there we are, that's the sheep way, and this is our way. And on the wayside here, just as we're going up, is a natural spring water fountain, which seems to have a couple of airlocks in its system. Well, we made good steady progress, really without a huge amount of effort, up to the first open ridge, and from there we can all enjoy some really magnificent mountain scenery to the, let me get this right, east I think I'm looking at now. Yeah, I've got a shadow behind me, must be. Another glorious sunny day. A little bit of cold wind on the air, but nothing to worry about. We're mostly in shorts and t-shirts. Our goal is the little hill just above us there, and as we progress and keep on stopping to enjoying the views, that's because we're confronted with, here's the view. On the side, on this branch here, or rather the trunk here, there's this procession of caterpillar, and a really fairly unimpressive nest or home is towards the top of the tree. And as we keep progressing along our own route, we're getting tantalisingly impressive views over to distant ridges that look quite a lot more challenging and really quite inviting, at least to me anyway. The majority of the group managed to get to the top I'm stood right beside a mobile telephone mast, so I won't record that. And we're able to sit on this little concrete wall. Our route down brought us out on a narrow path alongside a little stream really just to our right, through some really quite attractive forest. And our final couple of kilometres will return us down to Voskopoje. And when we get there, it will complete what has been a really good third day walk. Well, we then drove through to Korcha, which was only about half an hour away, and we're staying for just the one night here in the Hani Pazar Boutique Hotel. Well, we stepped out of the hotel and straight away we're into the bazaar market area, with the distant mountains also close. Well, after a very welcome local beer, we're now doing a walk through the old Ottoman Square. This is the old centre of the city. And this is one of the oldest mosques in Albania. Although it looks modern, I think it's been repointed. It dates from 1492. And from there we move through in towards the new town of Korcha. And the Christian church. So this Orthodox cathedral was in fact reconstructed after the communist era, so it's post 92, and inside there's some very good frescoes. Of course they're modern. I'm hoping to get a bit of film of those when we go in. But video and photography was not allowed inside the church. An alternative means of transport around the city. Well, after the performance last night, this morning we've moved on, headed away and into North Macedonia. We've crossed the border and we're now on the shores of Lake Ohrid. We're at the monastery inn now, just having a look around. Very pleasant here. Gentle boat trips are available, and those boat trips take you to the Ohrid Lake Springs. And the grounds, the gardens of the St. Now Monastery, and a couple of peacocks around. And a little arch entrance into the monastery courtyard itself. From the grounds of the courtyard, now looking up into the magnificent mountain scenery too.
Or this way.
Well, this is an old walnut tree which has been carved into a statue of Saint Naum himself, after whom the monastery is named. Well, from the monastery we've picked up another guide, Bobby, who's with us for a couple of days here in Macedonia, and we're taking a long ride up a steep and windy road to the pass between the two main lakes, and we're starting a walk now up to the peak, which is quite steep but above us here. Our group is split in two. Robert's taking 7 on a slightly easier option. So I'm already, and this eye's looking ahead to the north to one of the lakes. I'll name it on the title in, and to the south down to Lake Ohrid. And the views from the car park area where we lighted the coach, back up to the hillside and the ridge on the other side. Again, really quite impressive and inviting. Our path continued to rise steadily on a way-marked red and white splodges of paint route. As we continued, the gradient levelled out somewhat. I think it's the peak. That's that little knobbly thing just up above. On the footpath, as we're walking up and refusing to step on him, I've got here a praying mantis. I'll move a bit of grass. And his two bulbous eyes. Well, they pack a vicious bite if you happen to annoy them. Some of the tops have what look like shelters on them, but are in fact remnants from the First World War, where Bulgarians, French here, and Italians not far away are all lobbing shells around at each other. And so from our high point now, I'm looking down onto the largest lake in Europe, inland lake in Europe, Lake Ohrid, 40 kilometres long apparently, it's stretching on and on there. But as we look across Lake Ohrid, we're now on the North Macedonia side, and I'm looking to the west towards the Albanian side. And then finally we return to our, what is a replacement bus. This is not the bus we started the holiday on. That's a long story, not for the video. But those who are watching the video know it, it was quite funny. The next day, the 5th day of walking, we're starting in the Galicic National Park for a linear walk of about 8 miles. And already alongside the path, we've got lots of clumps of cyclamen, and a whole bank of it just alongside, stretching up. And then already, just a short way uphill, on the footpath we're on the route out of Ohrid, and look back down on the city, on the lakeside, on the shores of Lake Ohrid. The path continued to ascend steadily, and we carried on now a contour path, enjoying all these views down to the lake and the bay of the city of Ohrid before us. We kept up a steady pace and made good progress, and just occasionally we do stop just to admire the views from whence we came. A little further on we're beginning to enjoy both the sunshine and the early autumn colours. Also growing quite a lot of autumn crocus, and so we continued, and big mountain views ahead. The path's now passing through a whole series of old villages and more traditional means of transport visible, servicing houses, dwellings that have seen better days. That was maybe once a palatial villa, but not everywhere is totally derelict. The farming community around here is still quite strong. And shortly after lunch We continued on this high level path with really magnificent views down over Lake Ohrid. And then about 14 kilometres later we ended up in our final village, and there's all sorts of chilies, sweet red peppers drying in the sun, vines ready to be picked, and a church on the hill. And in this perfect mountain location overlooking Lake Ohrid, new development takes place. And that little village was above us, and we've now just descended through the wood for the final section to complete today's walk. Well, after the walk we dropped down into Ohrid city along with Bobby still, in order to do a city tour of the sights here. And slap bang in the middle here, over 1,000 years old, is this tree. I think he said it was a clementine tree, I'm not absolutely certain. Carry on down the modern pedestrian precinct. Lots of shops are open, it is a Sunday today. One of the features, specialities if you like, of Ohrid are the manufacture of pearls. And they're actually manufactured from fish scales, so the pearls are actually constructed effectively and then made into these beautiful works of art. Other cheaper tourist tat is also available. There's a lively and popular cafe scene. The building design here is fairly typical of this area, including Albania. Our walk continued to take us through the old town, and the paving we're walking on is from the 9th century. This church in ancient times was in fact a hospital, particularly for the cure of leprosy. More evidence here of the typical Macedonian Albanian architectural style. We continued in the old town, past some wineries, some bars, lots of more pearl shops, and several churches still.
Yep, so you don't get...
Interesting contrast, old and new. This ancient theatre was built in Roman times in the 2nd century. The performances still take place here today. And from the amphitheatre there's great views across the bay and to the mountain range, part of which we've been walking through today. And another bay and port view.
Oldest lake in the world, bitch. And you're on your flying, well done.
And on the shores of Lake Ohrid, Byzantine church in the most magnificent setting. And our return walk took us along this boardwalk beside the crystal clear waters of Lake Ohrid. Well, the Macedonia flag's flying there, but unfortunately there's no wind. Well, by complete contrast today, we've actually headed straight through to Tirana, the capital. So we're now back in Albania and out to Macedonia. There's several big parks, green spaces in Tirana. There's several distractions to tempt you to buy things as we're walking around. Overall, the circuit we're going to do is going to circumnavigate the lake. And we've got glimpses of the city skyscraper skyline beyond. Well, we're here instead of our scheduled location because of long delays at the border crossing back into Albania, and also very heavy congestion on the roads, mostly due to a lot of roadworks and upgrades that are currently taking place. just about circumnavigated that lake now, and the skyline of Tirana away over there with the mountains in the distance.